Welcome to this week's edition of the People Progressing Podcast. And I have Fred Stuvek from Knoxville, Tennessee on with us today. And he's a very interesting person who's going to give us a lot of insight on a lot of different things. And he's written a book called It Starts With You, Turn Your Goals into Success. And I'm excited to go over that and some other things with Fred today. And Fred, why don't you just kind of introduce yourself or just tell us like where you grew up, what you did as a kid, what you kind of like to do as a kid and so forth.
Okay. Well, first of all, Coach, thanks for having me on the program. Like I said earlier, I've been calling people coaches so much in my life that I enjoy being able to do that again. So again, thank you for having me on.
It's our pleasure.
I'm from I was born in Morgantown, West Virginia. But I grew up in southwestern Pennsylvania, small coal mining town. My parents were both school teachers. My father coached a number of sports, including football. He coached me in football. It was a good town, good values, good work ethic. And, I think that it helped me quite a bit in terms of my upbringing. I was the oldest of 5 children and tried to look out for my, my brothers and sisters. And I played a lot of sports. Back then we had 4 seasons. We had football, basketball, track, and baseball. And I played all 4 seasons.
Yeah.
And, at that time too, the only way to get out, or not to get out, but it was to get a scholarship or go to school was, more often than not athletics. My parents were both school teachers, but, we had to work, I had to work summer jobs, baling hay, digging up septic tanks when I had time, things like that. And I had to talk with my parents one day. They came down and said, look, we understand that you want to go to college, but we don't have any money to send you, so you're gonna have to get a scholarship. And I was like 14 at the time. And I said, okay, so what position? So we talked about it and decided I would focus on quarterback. And that was my goal. And, I was able to, I had offers from Pitt, Penn State, West Virginia, et cetera. But I ended up going to the Naval Academy. One of the coaches that I'd met on a recruiting trip up in Colgate named Frank Gans was later took a coaching position at the Naval Academy. And he called me up one day while I was working at the car wash and said, Fred, I think you need to come down to the Naval Academy. And he said, I think it'd be good for you. I said, Coach, that's fine, but I have no interest in going to the Service Academy. He said, Coach, he said, Fred, you trust me? I said, yes, sir. He says, great. Since you trust me, then I've already made arrangements. They pick you up tomorrow and take you down to now. And, Coach, that's what we talked about earlier in the beginning of the program. You have to have an open mind about these things. Now, I would have just said, nah, I don't want to be bothered. It's too much trouble. But you have to be an open mind. You have to have an open mind and be willing to explore other things. And I always wonder, like with my life, what had happened if I had not done that?
Right.
Because it shaped a lot of who I am, and I'm proud of that school and what it represents and the chance that I had to serve my country and all that. But I went there and I lettered at quarterback for 3 years. Spent 5 years in the service. I transitioned out. I wanted to be home more than away, and then I got into the medical area. I started off in sales. I was with a company called Siemens. Ended up being the youngest VP in the history of the company. And then I went to a high-tech startup here in Knoxville, Tennessee, developing PET, which later positron emission tomography, which later became PET-CT. And that went well. Most of our business was outside the United States. As a result, I have 7.5 million frequent flyer miles. So,
wow.
But we eventually, were able to get Medicare reimbursement, did an IPO. I had no desire to be a part of a public company. And I left. After about 6 months, got antsy, started up my own company. It was a multi-modality imaging company. Half a dozen of them in the Atlanta area, and I sold them a few years ago. And then I've written a couple of books. The first one you mentioned was It Starts With You, which has gone very well. And the next one I have coming out is I'm very excited about. It's called The Experience of Leadership. And I think that's something right up your alley too, Coach. Of course, I think the first one is too.
Yeah, it's amazing what you've done. And I want to go back a little bit. First, I have to ask this question. Who is somebody that's very famous that was born in Morgantown besides you? You have any idea?
Pete Maravich?
Was he? I was thinking of Don Knotts. Remember the Andy Griffith show?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was born in Morgantown. Barney Five was born in Morgantown. So when you said that, it kind of hit home with me. That's my favorite show of all time. So,
oh yeah, well, Pete Maravich, when I was in my, young, when 1, 2 years old, he was my play buddy.
oh wow,
Maravich lived beside us at the. I don't remember. This is all just anecdotal from my parents and all that, but yeah, he was quite an athlete. But I didn't realize that.
Well, let's get into that. You were quite an athlete too, Fred. You're in the Pennsylvania Sports Hall of Fame, are you not?
Yes, sir. Yeah, 4 sports. I played them all. I was, football was probably my best. Was my best sport, but I enjoyed them all, and I did okay at track there for a couple of years.
And now let's dive into the Naval Academy. It's a beautiful place. It's an unbelievable place to develop leadership and so forth. What was the biggest thing you got out of going to the Naval Academy?
I think it was the sense of commitment and honor, the discipline, and doing the right thing. I'd always liked to, when I was growing up, watch movies about the Romans and the Greeks, and the movie, I think came out in 1962 or something around there, called 300 Spartans. And that made a big impact on me. I mean, these 300 Spartans, it was actually 300 Spartans, about 5,000 Thebans. So it wasn't only 300 Spartans, but they did dispatch the Thebans at the end. But be that as it may, that type of thing always, appealed to me. And when I was looking at different schools, I just didn't see anything that resonated with me. When I saw what was going on down there, it was, I said to myself, this can make me a better person. We had one little issue though, is Vietnam War was going on. So I went home. I mean, I accepted on the side. I said, Coach, I'm in, and I went home. My mother cried. She said, I don't want you to go to Vietnam. Something could happen to you. I said, Mom, don't worry. They got this covered. They're going to train me. They have good training and stuff. So, don't worry about it. I said, besides, if I don't go, I mean, who's going to go? I mean, Coach, I think everybody should give back to this country.
Yeah.
We have to do military service. We have too many takers. We need more givers.
Yeah.
So when we say give back, if you don't want to be in the military, spend 2 years doing community service or some type of government service, but give back. Okay. And I think that's something that mandatory service, I think there are more pros than cons, but today we just, I don't think that's going to resonate with most of the people, but in any event, that appealed to me, the chance to be part of something greater and to serve my country. And at the same time, learn a lot and associate with some great people.
And it had the discipline that it takes to go to an academy is unprecedented. I mean, what your daily routine, especially as an athlete there, how hard was that to maintain academics and playing a Division I sport at a high level like that?
Well, first of all, you don't get much sleep. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't get much sleep. So it's extremely difficult. I do think that they've probably made I know they've made some changes since then, but back in the day, they didn't accommodate the athletes that much. And as a result, we just didn't have much time. So you had to be very, very disciplined about what you had to, you're doing. You couldn't have too many distractions, and you had to stay focused, and you just had to be committed and not give up. At the same time, being able to balance all those things, taking celestial navigation, electrical engineering, and then on Saturday going out and playing against Michigan or Notre Dame, it rounds you out a little bit, if you know what I mean. So, as a result, I think it helped me. It made me a stronger person, and particularly in the civilian world. I remember whenever I started working in the civilian world, everybody was complaining about the long hours, and I said, "Oh my goodness gracious! I'm used to be gone. I'm used to being gone for 6 to 8 months, and I mean, if you get a day off here or there, you're lucky." So as a result, I always thought it was a pretty good deal. But
And then,
it's very challenging. It's very challenging. Yes.
and then you become once you graduate, you become an officer. Was that a different transition for you, or was that something you really looked forward to doing, becoming an officer and being able to lead people?
Yes, I did, but at the same time, I was not delusional. Okay, when I say delusional, okay, I reported to my first command, and I had a division. There were several hundred men, several master chiefs. You know, there's a master chief, and two senior chiefs, and I mean they've been in the Navy for 20 some years. They've been around. I didn't think it was really my place to go in there to tell them, okay, this is what you need to do, particularly from day one. I said, hey, look, I have my duties. I'm here to support you. You tell me what I need to help you. So let's figure this out together. And that worked out pretty good. Actually worked out very well. But you know, I just don't think, and it's like leadership. It's not something you just learn from a book or from a course. It's something you have to experience, and you have to figure it out yourselves. And through my interaction with different officers, you know, admirals, captains, things like that, you know, I learned best practices, principles, things like that. But you know, for someone to lead, you first have to be able to follow, and then you also have to be empathetic, but you have to be open to new ideas and, you know, putting yourself out there. But you also have to be humble and know that no one person has all the answers. And I mean, there was, you know, one of the things I used to always do was say, okay, chief, this is what I think we should do. What do you think? Yes or no? And if they didn't think idea, they would tell me, and I would welcome that, because you need that opposing view, that opposing opinion. By the same token, they would say to me, they say, you know, Mr. Stuvek, what about this? What about that? And I said, well, coach, coach, I said, chief, you ever done that before? Oh, yeah, what happened? Things like that. So you learn to kind of figure it out by yourselves. But it's a group of people. And you also learn that in the military, when you have dozens and hundreds of people that you're responsible for, that there's no one cookie cutter approach. Everybody's different. Every situation is different. That's why, coach, I really don't like these labels about servant leadership or this leadership or that leadership. As a matter of fact, in my leadership book, which is coming out this fall, hopefully September, maybe it's October, but it'll still be out this fall. When you read the book, and I think you're going to like it, and we talk about that a little bit more later, but you're not going to see anything about management styles in it at all. Okay. And it's not about, and I don't think anybody in the book, about all the people featured, really talk about training and what they learned at a training course. You learn it by experiencing it. Okay. Not by going to a course. And the only way to experience this is to be around other leaders and do it. Okay. You have to, so it's about those people who have been there, they've done it. But you have to also understand that, what did Darwin say? It's not the strong that survive. It's those who adapt. Well, the same thing is true in leadership. It's not the strength of your leadership, so to speak. It's your ability to adapt, to understand the situation, read the other people, communicate well, have a sense of integrity and honor, be authentic, make good decisions, things like that.
And vulnerable.
Yes.
Being vulnerable.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it was on more than one occasion, I said, I'm not really sure I know what to do here. Or what do you think? Because no one has all the answers, which is why a mentor is so important as well. And I'm sure you've mentored a lot of people too. Mm-hmm. We've exchanged, you know, correspondence on social media about that.
Yeah. And you know, the story that really hit me right there, Fred, was this: when you first became an officer, and all of a sudden you're thrust into a position where you're leading people who have been in the military for over 20 something years. And I think emotional intelligence is kind of what you're talking about here. You mentioned it, reading people. And I think you said it when you said these people have been in this for 20 something years. And if I go in there and just start ordering them around, we're going to have problems. And you went in there and you read that and you had empathy for those people. In other words, you were probably sitting there saying, what would I have felt like if I'd been in 20 years and here comes this kid from the academy and he's going to start bossing me around. And you understood that going in, and that's how you led those people. And I think that's so powerful and such a powerful story.
Well, Coach, I totally agree with you about emotional intelligence, or EQ. If IQ was the ultimate determination of getting things done and being successful, then I'm living right next to the capital of the world, Oak Ridge, Tennessee, where they have more PhDs per capita than any place in the world.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not the IQ. As a matter of fact, I think something to the effect of 80% plus of your success in life is predicated on your emotional quotient and your ability to get along with people. And that's so important, to not only be able to get along with people, but to understand what's going on, be able to read the situation,
Yes,
be able to act appropriately and know what to do. And most importantly, what not to do, because everybody's different.
Man, you're nailing this. This is so awesome. Because I 100% agree. The emotional intelligence, or the EQ part of it, is so important. And you just explain that so perfectly. And I just love that. Now let's get into your book a little bit. It starts with you, Turn Your Goals into Success. Tell us a little bit about that book. It's an awesome book. And I want to preface it by saying, if you're going to start a business or you're going to jump into anything that you're a little bit apprehensive about, or whatever it might be, read this book, because I think it will help you and help you take that leap of faith.
Yeah, it's a good lead in, because when I sold my company, I was trying to sort out what to do, and many people would ask me, well, Fred, what about this? You've done that. And several recommended I write a book. So, I mean, there's school and there's what you're taught, and then there's the real world.
Mm-hmm.
What you're taught in school in no way prepares you for business or the real world. Okay. So I wanted something to bridge the gap between theory and practice. Okay. And success is not just one thing. It's not one dimensional. It's a number of things that must be put together and converge for you to be successful. And the total sum of those can be a very powerful combination. By the same token, if you're absent some of those characteristics or traits, it's going to hurt you. So there is a range of issues that I cover in the book. And I really get into what is important, why it is important, and how you do something about it. And it's very specific. You've seen that. And I had, and the basic principle in this book is, I call it, I didn't really say that in the book, but I just mentioned AEP, because it really is. It's number one, you have to align. Okay. You have to align your interest and skill set with what you're doing. And it has to be something that you believe in. Okay. And if you believe in it and you're good at it and you enjoy it and inspires you and you're doing it for all the right reasons, then you have a better chance of success, because when things are going tough, when things are going roughly for you and you're not working out, which happens. I mean, things don't, it's not like this. Okay. It's like this. So you got to, when you have the highs, okay, great. And, don't get too confident. When you have the lows, just know that you'll get through it. So, having said that, you have to have that alignment, and that's very important. And there's a way to do that, and I talk about it in the book. The other thing that's just so important is your environment. And the environment is two things. The environment is, let's just say, where you work or who you associate with. Okay. And that is somebody or an organization, a school, a company, a military unit, whatever, that has the same values and mission and principles and practices that you believe in. Because when you do that, that's something where there's going to be a good match. By the same token, you need to create an environment for yourself that enables you to be successful. Now, when you talk about what is the right environment for yourself, Coach, what is your life about? This is what your life is. Your life is about the habits you form and the decisions that you make and the people you hang out with, right?
Yeah.
And associate with. I mean, that's it. Now, if you think about it, so if you want a better life, okay, develop better habits, make better decisions, and associate with better people. Pretty simple. That's why my parents used to always worry about who I was spending time with.
Yeah.
My father, that's another story. But so then I talk about that environment being very, very important. And the other thing is P, perseverance. You have to have grit. You have to be resilient. You have to be able to stay the course. And that is one thing that is missing today. I mean, put your instant gratification on hold, because nothing good comes easy. And if it doesn't, it's probably not going to appreciate it. It's not going to work. You're not going to enjoy it. I always like to say, honor the struggle, because that struggle and what you do to get there makes it all worthwhile. And when you think about the things that make you happy, Coach, it's not really things, it's what you've done. It's the accomplishments, it's your family, it's how you've helped people. I mean, me having a watch or a car, it's nice, but the things that really make me happy are what I've done to help people and what I've done to help my family. So everything I've tried to do has been about doing the right thing, because at the end of the day, Coach, it's not about you and it's not about me. It's about the other person. And that's why if we could just get more people in this country thinking about the other person and trying to help other people and looking out after everyone's common interest instead of being so self-serving and so dogmatic, maybe we would be better.
Yeah, and I 1000% agree with that. I have a saying, and I've probably said it on every podcast that I've done, is when you find your purpose is great, when you'll find your purpose when your purpose is greater than yourself. Mm-hmm. And I truly believe that. And what you've done with this book is to serve others. What you've done with your businesses, you mentioned your businesses were in the medical field. Well, what's that? That's serving others, right? It's helping people be healthy. You write your book to serve others, to help them take that leap, get out there, do what you want. I love aligning your interests and your skill set is so huge. I mean, that I say this on every podcast and people are probably getting tired of me saying it, but 70% of Americans are disengaged at work.
I was talking to somebody at the club. I mean, I tend to go up and just talk to people sometimes. I was like, hey, what's going on? Or, the young people, and people come up to me and ask me questions, and I was talking young. Two things jump out at me. Number one, when somebody says they're going to do this, or I'm going to take this job or do this, I go ask them why. They go, what do you mean? I said, well, why are you going to do it? I said, the pay's good. I said, so you're a mercenary?
Yeah.
Okay. Because if I said, do you enjoy it? Well, that's what my father or my mother or whatever, if you're doing something to please your parents, you're going to be an unhappy person.
Yeah.
Okay? If you're doing it just for the money, at the end of the day, it's going to be something that's going to come back and, you're going to burn yourself out. And, and the other thing is, well, I'm going to do this. I was talking to some kids, well, I want to do this, but I'm going to get my MBA. I said, have you started yet? He goes, no. He says, but I'm thinking about it. I'll probably do it next year. I said, if you're thinking about something, act on it, because sometimes later becomes never. And the time's going to pass anyhow. And it's just so important. But people do not think about that enough, in my opinion, Coach. And you hit the nail right on the head again, is you have to have those interests aligned with what you're doing.
Yeah. And it's, I like my kids when they went to college and they were trying to figure out what to major in. I told them, I want you to major in your passion. Mm-hmm. Because I want you to be happy with everything that you're doing in life. Because I also have a saying that it says, fear regret. I'm actually having it put on a hat right now. And I just think that too many of us, when we get to a certain age, as I get older and older here, I don't want to look back at life with regret. And if you go to work 20, 30, 40, 50 hours a week and for 20, 30 years and you're disengaged and don't like it, how much regret are you going to have at the end of your life? And I think you need to kind of figure that out as you're going here, and aligning what you like to do with your interests and your skill set is so beautiful to say, because that's exactly what I wish people would do. And I think people wouldn't be so angry in our country sometimes.
Yeah, well, I mean, you spend a lot of time at work, and if you're not happy and motivated, there's a spillover effect.
Yeah.
It's spill over to your personal life. And it also could manifest itself in other areas, such as maybe drinking too much, drugs, bad behavior. I'm not saying everybody is a saint. I'm certainly no saint. But what I'm saying is, you end up coping for other ways.
Right.
And it creates issues because you don't have a good balance.
Right.
And by the same token, if you don't have a good personal life, that's going to carry over into your business life too. So you have to have a good balance.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
beautiful. I mean, it's beautiful. So AEP.
Yeah.
So we get that.
And perseverance.
It's so awesome. And that's in It Starts With You. I want everyone to get that book. And then let's go into your new book. It's more into the leadership part of what we're talking about here. Is that would you agree with that?
Yes. I think due to my background, and I have a distinct perspective on leadership in the military, business, sports, and so forth. And I've always wanted to write a book on leadership, so I decided I was going to do it. Now, I did it kind of back-asswards too. I just printed this out. I was glad. This is the cover. I developed the cover and got the title before I wrote the book.
There you go. That's a good way to do it. That's a good way to do it.
You like that?
Yeah, I do like that a lot.
Yeah, and see, I'll tell you about the book here in a minute, but this was a very collaborative effort with these people, with the people that I've profiling in the book. But I mean, one of the questions was 1 star versus 5 stars.
Okay.
Some people thought 1 star was more elegant, and then he's in the book, Dr. Mordecai Brownlee, said, Fred, 5 stars always beats 1 star. It does. That took care of it.
Yeah.
And then it's like at Amazon, 5 stars. So anyhow, it's called The Experience of Leadership, and it's proven examples from successful leaders. And, I think one of the questions, Coach, is what defines good leadership, and how do you become a good a leader? It's not by accident. It's by learning from the example of others. And so what my attempt in this book was to take people that have been there, done it, been successful, and have the readers learn new perspectives on leadership, practices and principles that work, and also something that would motivate, inspire the reader. Now, it does have a bit of a militaristic hue to it, which is okay, because I'm very pro-military, and if someone is not pro-military and all that, then don't buy the book. I mean, that's not my audience. I don't want you to buy the book, okay? And maybe you might learn something, so maybe you should, but that's your call. So my audience is the people that are looking to expand their leadership, that respect the military, our country, our educational system, the sports, and want to learn. I have, for example, a lot of military. I have SEAL Team 6, commanding officers of submarines, aircraft carriers, task force, special ops commanders. Here, education, I have college professors, superintendent of the Naval Academy, a lot of instructors. In the sports, NFL, NCAA, Division I athletes, public service, CIA, White House, spokesman, things like that. Business, I have entrepreneurs, company executives, consultants, coaches, things like that. So it's a broad swath of people. And the people in the book, they talk about, we talk about what is it that, your views on leadership, what has worked, what would you recommend, things like that. And I think by looking at leaders across a broad swath that have been successful. This anthology of leadership, it's just these nuggets of advice are something that someone can learn from. And not everybody that reads the book is going to identify with every person or every style, but they're going to get something out of it. And if they can get one or two things out of it that's going to help their leadership journey and help develop them, then it's worth it. But there are some very very cool people, very accomplished people, folk in this book. I think collectively, they probably commanded hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. They've protected our nation. They've taught hundreds of thousands of people, coached hundreds of thousands of people, and they've also collectively written over a dozen books. And each and every one of them is actively involved in leadership as well. That was one of the conditions. They had to have been in a leadership book, but also in a leadership position, but also involved in leadership best practices, whether teaching, writing books, giving talks, or having been in a leadership position. And interestingly, it just turned out this way. I didn't realize it at the time, but two of the people were presidential advisors.
Wow.
Yeah, one for, and they were both Bushes, one for the older Bush and one for, I was at 41 and 43 or something like that. So it's pretty cool stuff. And Coach, I think it's gonna be right up your alley. And I think it's gonna be right up the alley of anybody who wants to learn about best practices of leadership, because you do not learn leadership in a classroom. You don't learn how to throw a football in a classroom. You have to go out and do it and watch other people being successful, learn from them, practice, okay, adapt as necessary, and move on. But as I said earlier in the book, there isn't the term leadership, terms such as servant or this or that isn't really talked about in the book. It's all about adaptive leadership. Every situation, every person is different. And that's why the point you brought up earlier is so interesting. EQ, empathy, awareness, being able to understand what's going on. Okay. And right.
Yeah, I think that's huge. I think it's the best leaders can feel their people, can understand their people, can put themselves in their people's shoes. The empathy piece. I've said this before, that empathy, I think, is the strongest word in the English language. I think it's the most important word in the English language. And I think if we had more of it, we'd have better leadership and we'd have more respect and trust and care for each other if people would understand what that means. And this book sounds so powerful. Was there one, and maybe not, because you talk to so many different types of leaders from so many different spectrums, was there any one common theme that you found from interviewing all these people that you could sit there and say, yeah, this really does stick out more than the others?
I think in no particular order. I mean, that's hard to say, but I would say number one is just making good decisions. Okay, how do you go about the decision-making process? And what you'll see in the book, and one of the persons featured in the book, Admiral Callan, he mentions number one is to make quality decisions. And if you're going to make quality decisions, there's a way to do that. And that involves empathy, humility, soliciting input from other people, seeking the truth, okay? Respecting the truth, respecting other people's opinion, taking that opposing view. So it's the ability, so I would say the decision-making process is very important, and being able to work together as a team, and then trusting, because it really, a lot of what you do is about making a decision. So those decisions, particularly in the military, can have fatal consequences, or life or death. So it's about making the right decisions and having an environment that is conducive to making the right decisions by practicing good teamwork, good communication, trust, accountability, and also, being responsible. And the other thing too is that, again, there's no cookie cutter formula.
Right.
Just because you think, just be prepared for plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D. And that's not that you bring up. That's another point that was in most of the chapters, and that is contingency planning. Okay, because things never work out the way you think they are, and that's not good. That's not bad. That's just the way it is. So you have to be prepared. Hope is not a strategy. If you're sitting there thinking things are going to work out, you'd be surprised.
Yeah, preparedness, I think, is huge. I heard this the other day. They asked Abe Lincoln to cut down a tree, and he said he was going to spend 4 hours sharpening the axe before he started, because he wanted to be prepared to do it. So I think that's huge. And I also think one of the things you just said there was really powerful in making decisions, quality decisions, when asking your people their input. Empowering your people as a leader is ginormous in my life, because I think when you empower people, that helps them gain confidence and lets them know that you believe in them. And then that confidence grows. And when that grows, you and your business, or you and your team, or whatever it might be, will grow. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. And again, it's about making those decisions and getting that buy-in. Yeah. I mean, if you walk in and you're telling the squad, the group, the company, whatever, do this is where it can be, boom. And I mean, there could be some serious ramifications if you make mistakes, but just to think that you have all of the answers, no, okay? Nobody does. So you have to be humble enough to understand that you don't have all the answers, and to accept that and be able to make those collective judgments. Now, there are times when, due to temporal concerns, you're just going to have to make a decision. There's no time for collective input and all that. And and then again, you have to have the courage to make the decision. And if it goes right, fine. And if it goes wrong, accept accountability and responsibility. But the more you can involve other people in the decision-making process, the more participative it is, the more buy-in, and you'll get better communication, better results that way. People, it's human nature, Coach. People don't like to be forced to do something. And if it's something that they don't understand, it can be just as bad. But at least if they've had a chance to be part of the planning process and give their 2 cents and understand what's going on, it's going to make things go that much more smoothly.
Oh, it's so awesome, man. This is so awesome. I just love this stuff. I just think we have a leadership void in our country, to be honest with you. I think now in my 55 years that leadership in our country, and it speaks out by the 70% of disengaged people. And it's not that people are bad. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that they need to understand leadership a little bit better than what they do. And I think a lot of leaders need to lead better in the troubled times, in the noise, when the noise hits. I have a saying that says you need to win the process. And so as a leader, I wanted to set a process for my group or my team that I thought was going to help everyone in our team and the team itself be successful. Mm-hmm. And winning that process was more important to me than end result, because I thought if we won the process, then more than likely than not, we're going to win the end result. But even if we didn't, we wouldn't have regret, because we still did everything we could to win the process. And I think when the noise hits and things happen that are bad, or COVID hits, let's say, and the noise hits, a lot of leaders leave their process. They disband, they abandon their process, and then that's where they get in trouble. That's just kind of what I've seen through my years of being in leadership too. And I can't wait for your book to come out, Fred. Where can people get your books?
It'll be on Amazon, iTunes, Barnes and Noble, and also my website. I have a website, fredstuvek.com, and you can go on there. It'll direct you to the different links to purchase the book.
And you're also a great follow on Twitter. That's kind of how you and I have met. Yeah. And some of the stuff you put on Twitter is life changing as well. And what I suggest for people to do is It Starts With You, Turn Your Goals Into Success. Get that book first. And then when the leadership book comes out, read that, because they're unbelievable books in helping you in your leadership journey. And just in your journey itself, if you want to become an entrepreneur and you're afraid to take that leap and you're afraid to take that risk of going for it and getting into your interest and skill set by starting your own business and doing the things that you love to do, read that book. And I promise you, after you read It Starts With You, you will take the leap. And it's powerful. So I got 3 more questions for you, Fred. We're kind of running out of time.
Sure.
It goes along with my book, The 3 Ps, Finding Your Purpose, Perspective, and Passion. What is your purpose in life right now?
My purpose in life is first and foremost is my family. Okay, so I'm all about taking care of my family, and I would say secondly, it's about doing something that I can to help inspire, motivate, give someone the tools to be successful, and to share my experience and almost wisdom, but to share what I've done that's worked right, that also didn't work right, with other people, so that they can hopefully become more successful. And rising tide raises all the ships. I mean, there's a big gap in this country between the haves and have-nots, and a lot of people are struggling. And so, if more people can be successful and not struggle as much, then we're all going to be better off for it.
That's awesome. And this is going to be interesting because you've had so many different powerful experiences in your life with the Naval Academy and playing sports and leadership in the Navy, and then starting your own companies and selling your companies and building another company and all that. What's your perspective on life?
My perspective on life is that, number one, you have to do something that you enjoy and believe in and makes a difference. And number two, you have to seek the truth and speak the truth. And that's where the honor concept of the Naval Academy really resonated with me. That's very important. And then number 3 is you want to try to give back and just share what I've done with other people. But and again, I try to take care of myself. And because if you don't respect yourself, Coach, it's hard to respect other people. So I have I try to take care of myself physically and mentally and all those things, because it's a reflection not only on me, but of my family as well. And I want them to respect me, and I want my friends and other people who see me to respect me as well. Say, well, that person is, he's got his act together.
Okay? That's awesome. And so the last one, the passion.
I just look up to believe that. Okay.
Yeah. Well, you look good. I can tell you that. What's your passion? What's some stuff that you just love to do?
Well, I work out a lot. So I enjoy working out. I enjoy travel. I've traveled so much. Coach, this is one thing I wish. I'm going to branch off on perspective. When I see some of these comments about, well, I'm not that proud of our past, or, America this or whatever. Many of the people in this country need a sense of perspective. Okay. I'm telling you, I've traveled a lot. You name the country, I've just about been there. And I'm telling you, anywhere you go, there's something going on or something happened in the past that just doesn't reflect well on that.
Yeah.
But that's not the norm. That's the exception.
Yeah.
You can't apply that in general to the entire country or to the entire people. And speaking of the people, I don't care whether it's China, Korea, Greece, United Kingdom, Germany, Italy, Canada, wherever you go. What do they want? People really want a few things. Number one, they just want to have a good life, raise their family, be safe, and make a difference. Most people really feel that way.
Yeah.
They really do. And they want to be safe. They want to be secure. They want to contribute. And so, I think we need to give people the benefit of the doubt. But at the same token, I think we also have to recognize that there are some people out there that need some help, and let's give them that help as well. But we have more in common that makes us the same than we do in different. So instead of focusing on those differences, let's kind of build on what we have in common, become better, and move on from that and become more united instead of so friggin' divided.
Oh God, that's beautiful. That is so beautiful. I've been saying that for years now. Is it just saddens me to see how divided we are as a country and as a world, to be honest with you. We're all human beings, and the respect and love and care for each other. And yeah, we are going to have differences, but the differences shouldn't divide us. Don't let differences divide us, and just respect each other. So this has been powerful, Fred. I 1000%, if there is such a thing, thank you for coming on our show. And
you're quite welcome, Coach. I appreciate that you didn't send me any questions in advance. This is all non-scripted.
Yeah,
and that's what it should be. I like it that way. And
yeah, that's the way to do it.
Come down to Knoxville, have some drinks with me. Okay.
I will be there, and we will do that. And again, you can get your 2 books. Go on Fred's website. Just all I did was it starts with you.net is one of them for the book. And
no, just fredstuvek.com will work.
Okay, fredstuvek.com. You get on that, you can get his book. You'll be able to get his new book in the fall. Definitely follow Fred on Twitter and in any other social media, because he puts some great stuff out for you to look at almost on a daily basis. And it's been my pleasure and all of our treat to have you on here. You have made a difference in a lot of lives today, and I appreciate that, Fred. Thank you so much.
Coach, thank you for having me on, and for anybody out there that is watching and has been wanting to do something, take that chance and do it, and you'll be glad you did, because whether it works out or not, you can always adapt, move on, and be successful later. But make that effort. Never give up.
Powerful. It's powerful. I love it. Thanks, Fred.
Take care. Cheers.
Thank you again for listening to this week's People Progressing podcast with Fred Stuvek. It's unbelievable. Please get his books and so forth. And I appreciate your listening. Please download this, subscribe to our podcasts, get on, comment, give me some comments. Tell me what we can do better to help. Again, it's called the People Progressing for a reason, because we want people to grow and progress on a daily basis. So if you need to get a hold of me, you can get me at coachjoewhite97@gmail.com, or you can get on my website, get my book, coachjoewhiteconsulting.com, and order my book and so forth. And if you need me to come out and speak to your group or your business or anything like that, I would love to do that. So I appreciate you listening this week. Have a great week and keep progressing.